Oh my goodness, have you been looking at the news lately? I'll say this. If you're one of the people who have looked at the news lately, and this 2 minutes clip is what has gotten you fired up. I'll play this 2 minutes clip of a 45 minutes video, but let's play the 2 minutes clip. If this 2 minutes clip is what has gotten you fired up, triggered, rallied, you need to ask yourself some questions. And I hope we can ask ourselves those questions in this 2 minutes, 18 seconds video. Let's go ahead and watch this clip.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very
You
strong.
will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position. You don't have the
in
cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing
But
cards.
right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives of
anymore.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War
What do you-
III.
what do you
You're
think about?
gambling
What
with
do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. It's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A
This
lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the
What-
United
what
States
are
of
you
America
speaking about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
That's an interesting take. It's a 2 minutes, 18 seconds video. It's a lot to unpack in this video. And let's start. JD Vance here, the vice president, took it personal because in October, Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, had visited with Josh Shapiro and campaigned with Kamala because, again, the liberal arrogance was that the election was going to be for the liberals. So they were already campaigning to just continue in the Biden policy. But then that didn't turn out the way it was supposed to. Kamala didn't win. And so you would think the guy who was campaigning with Kamala because he knew that there was no way America was going to vote for Donald Trump, he was campaigning with all certitude. If you are a neutral, you're looking for what's best for your country. And you can't take sides. You're neither liberal nor conservative. You're neither Democrat nor Republican. What you need is their assistance from America to be able to support you through these difficult times that your country is going through. And so you don't get the freedom and luxury to take sides. So you don't have to be able to campaign with any of the parties. If he had done this with the Republican, he should have been called out just, but he did it with the liberal Democrats. When the Democrats don't win an election that you were campaigning with them and you knew that they were going to win and it's just going to be a continuation of free money, how do you reset yourself? The people that was hoping were going to win did not win. As Zelensky, how do I navigate this new environment? I can't carry myself in the same way that I have normally done because the people that fostered and catered for me are no longer in power. The people that are in power are more hostile and are going to be hostile to me. How do I navigate this complicated terrain? And that's where I think The body language of Zelensky in this 2-minute video, for me, was wrong. Now you have to go watch the entire video to be able to be informed. I have done it, but I wanted to select the part that was just triggering to the community. And so JD Vance, the vice president, points out to Zelensky that he has not been appreciative enough, which is something the Biden administration has done in the past, to say you're not appreciative, you're not showing the appreciation that America has given you all of these weapons, all of this aid, and you're not showing an appreciation. And JD Vance is right to call him out that, listen, you didn't support us. You went out full guns blazing with the Democrats, and the Democrats lost. You need to be more humble when you come to us. At this point, how are we looking at you? Your body language, you feel entitled, like you're liberal, because what liberals do, they feel entitled to things. Liberals think stuff should be given to them for free. The government should be involved. This is the making of a liberal. I'm happy that we see today the Europeans are coming together to help a fellow brother out, to help a fellow sister out. Was this the plan all along? But Trump has pushed this. Trump has said America should not be the largest sponsor of European war. Europe should be able to sustain its own wars. America cannot be providing this much free money to Ukraine. It makes sense to nobody. But this war is costing Ukraine upwards of about $130 million a day. $130 million a day. Yesterday, the UK signed a loan deal for Ukraine, the tune of about $2.2 million, which is probably going to run through at $130 million, roughly about 25 days. People. Peace need to be had. Where is this money coming from? Who's the winner and the loser in this war? Who is winning and who is losing? People dying in Ukraine, people are dying in Russia. For what? Ukraine is spending $130 million a day. Ukraine does not have that kind of money. Europe does not have that kind of money. You think Europe can sustain this war for a year? Europe does not. But how much is this war costing Russia? It's costing Russia about $500-600 million a day. So, interestingly, the US, EU, Canada, and other big donors are sponsoring Ukraine. But hold up. Who is sponsoring Russia? Because I cannot understand why in 2014 Russia had the balls to go into Ukraine and claim Crimea. You want to go ahead and say they speak Russian in Crimea and the Donbas area and the people want to go. No, that's not how it works. You don't invade a sovereign nation because the people speak the same language like you, identify with you. That is not how it works. But the international community stood by and didn't do nothing. Right? Year after year, resolution after resolution, Russia does not respect any treaty, any resolution, any. Russia is like a free radical state. They do whatever they want to do. How come every country is able to come together and impose sanctions on Iran, and those sanctions cripple the Iranian economy, but seemingly no sanctions are affecting the Russian government? At this point, the international community needs to come together if they're talking about peace. Peace does not happen if Russia has the freedom and financial ability to decide if they want to be part of peace or if they don't want to be part of peace. Cutting Russia from sporting organization, Olympic organization, does not affect them if the EU is still the highest consumer of Russian national resources. The EU is not serious. I honestly don't know if I take the EU seriously, because the EU is still the biggest beneficiary of Russian natural resources. The war is being funded in different aspects. There's money coming through Ukraine, and there's money going through Russia through the purchase of liquefied natural gas. Russia is not running around asking for money to fight this war. They're not begging for money. Russia is making a killing, right? European imports of liquefied natural gas from Russia at record levels. 10 January 2025. Europe bought a record amount of liquefied natural gas from Russia last year, data shows, despite EU's effort to ditch the fossil fuel funding Putin's war chest. So what are they telling us? Everybody's mad at Trump. Everybody's mad at JD. All the softies, all the liberals, everybody is mad at Trump and JD for telling Ukraine that America cannot keep providing. America is 35 trillion in debt. Anybody that thinks that America with this amount of debt needs to have an open purse, needs to wake up. We should advocate for this war to come to an end. Right? That's what we should be advocating for. Not for more weapons, more fighting without a resolution. This war is not going to end if we keep funding Ukraine. The steps have to be the international community puts so much pressure to isolate Russia as they did Iran, cut Russia from international circulation, transfer of money, everything should be frozen, where Russia's economy takes a massive hit where they're not able to sustain this war. Africa has an abundance of natural resources, maybe not as natural gas, maybe not as Russia does have. Why are these European countries not going to Africa to set up refineries out there that would then ship the natural gas directly to Europe? Why are these European countries not going to Angola, Nigeria, Mozambique, Algeria? Northern part of Africa is closer. You know, Algeria, Morocco is closer to Spain. That could be your hub. Set up gas pipes, drill from Nigeria, drill from Mozambique, drill from the places that have this, and then you put it through a channel through Spain, the Canaries Island, through Spain, and then gets distributed across Europe. That way, you hit Putin where it hurts the most. His pocket, the Kremlin's pocket. But is that what is being done right now? No, the Europeans are still consuming Russian gas. How can you be funding Ukraine and funding Russia at the same time and you're advocating for peace? That's why Russia is emboldened. It is a joke at the expense of the Ukrainians and the Russians that are dying. For what? Is Russia such a powerful country where they cannot be forced to adjust and follow simple international norms and guidelines? I don't think so. But Russia has something that everybody wants. And so we're playing footsie and with Russia. How can anybody explain to me that there's any European country, a member state of NATO, that still gets gas from Russia? Still pays even a dollar, even a euro to Russia, knowing that Russia needs this money to keep fighting. When do you think it's going to stop? If we create a temporary ceasefire right now, what's going to stop? What's going to happen? In 2 years, Putin is not going to invade again. What's going to happen? We need to be honest with ourselves. Europe does not have the money to fund this war. Europe just does not have it. Well, somebody thinking that the Europeans can fund this war for another year, 2 years. They don't. They don't have that kind of money. They don't have the military capabilities. I mean, we're seeing little pale countries coming up from the woodwork talking about, oh, we're not going to gas the U.S. Navy ship again. Really? That's where we at? No way. Can you pay $5 billion to Ukraine right now to fight this war? Do you have $5 billion to give Ukraine to fight this war every month or every year for the next 2-3 years? No way. Do you have that kind of money laying around? When your NATO contribution is less than 1% of your GDP, who are you talking to? Who are you trying to impress? Norway? Right? The only solution to stop this war, the only solution is to put pressure on Russia. It's not to give more weapons to Ukraine. Every country, including China has to be part of this conversation. Must apply pressure. China has this thing that they like to be indifferent. It can't happen in this situation. They need to apply pressure. They need to stifle Russia of its source of oxygen. It's natural gas. Nobody should want it and nobody should have it. And if that cannot be done, stop telling us that you care about peace. How many treaties has Russia already violated? 30 years of making treaties with Russia, agreements with Russia. 1994 Budapest Memorandum. The memorandum that said Ukraine is going to give up its nuclear arsenal and the West is going to come together and protect Ukraine. If you think about it right now, it seems like a violation of this 1994 by the US by not protecting because you took their nuclear weapons away. But is anybody saying that they want Ukraine to have their nuclear weapons right now and then they can launch a nuclear attack towards another nuclear nation? Is this the argument? That you took their nuclear weapons away and now you're not trying to back them? But that was the agreement, but is that the argument we're trying to make? I'm not understanding this logic right here, right now, that you took their nuclear weapons away and now you don't want to defend them. You do not come to America to ask for money, and you're raising your voice and you're speaking with authority. No, you just don't. You just don't come. This would have been a situation where, Mr. President, I hear you. Thank you for all that you have done. Thank you for what the American people have done to the people of Ukraine. We appreciate you. We see the work, and we hope that we can work continuously to ensure that the world is a safe place. Ukraine is a safe place. I understand that right now you do not want to give any guarantees, but I hope that we can work together to see that we need these guarantees, because if we don't have guarantees, then Russia can invade us at any time. You don't go back and forth when you are not in a position of strength. Don't let the liberals fool you. You are not in a position of strength. It does not matter the morality or the importance of this war, the significance of this war. Are you in a place of strength? Do you think that anybody can just opt and send you $2, $3, $4 billion out of the US without the president's input? Don't get this emotional people rally you up. Tell the Europeans that we appreciate you, but can you guys stand down? Let's solve our problems with America first, because we need them. They're the only ones that can foot this bill for the next year or 2 years, or however long this war is going to last. Treaty agreement after agreement, Russia has violated. So please do not tell me about any more peace agreement, right? This thing is going to end up being like the Palestinian Israeli war, agreement after agreement, and there's never a resolution. But the good thing is, in this case, Russia is not Israel, where everybody loves it. They have carte blanche. Russia is not that. Matter of fact, a lot of people can't stand Russia. And so, because Russia does not have the international backing of the world, how about you put in place harder financial regulations that are going to cripple Russian economy to the point where they're going to withdraw voluntarily because it's not sustainable? How about European countries stop consuming gas and commodities from Russia? How about that being solutions? How about that being resolutions that would work to make sure we have a lasting peace in this region? Because if Russia has the money, Russia is going to fund its own side of the war. The Europeans are out here spending, buying, and importing Russian gas. Let's watch this video to understand how the money goes round and round and comes back to Russia. Because the US is giving aid to Ukraine and the Europeans are giving aid to Russia. And so we are sitting out here looking at a ping pong game between people funded by the same people. Africa has a close proximity to Europe. African countries have a lot of natural gas. If you need natural gas, invest in Africa, build those infrastructures in Africa, build those infrastructures where you can pull out those resources from Africa in the next year or 2 or 3 years, and you cut your dependency on Russia. But see, European countries are not willing to do that. A couple of $1 billion to build the infrastructure in Africa, but they're spending multi-billion to buy liquefied natural gas from Russia.
America has given approximately $50 billion in aid to Ukraine. This is not much needed military equipment, helped pay salaries, and provided vital relief for millions of Ukrainian refugees. As incredible as this staggering amount is, it pales in comparison with the financial aid that Europe gives Russia.
Europe gives Russia $22 billion. Not really aid, but they're buying gas. Russia has billions of dollars coming in through the purchase of gas, and they're using some of this money to invest in their military. How do we stop this?
Equaling about 22 billion euros every single month. Shortly after the start of invasion, the world levied heavy sanctions on Russia in a bid to seriously economically damage it and hopefully force it to end its invasion of Ukraine. However, the European Union refused to take steps necessary to truly hurt the Russian economy. Ban all Russian banks from the SWIFT international. This highly secured payment network connects banks all over the world. The Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, or SWIFT, allows for the sending and receipt of international payments. With over 11,000 banks in the network, over 33 million transactions happen every single day on the most massive and secure banking network in the world. But SWIFT itself isn't a bank, merely an in-between that allows different banks to connect with each other. Thus, the consumer can easily pay from his bank account to a member on the other side of the world using a different bank altogether. Without access to SWIFT, a nation would be extremely hard-pressed to interact financially with the world and have to take on additional time and expenses of directly transferring funds from one bank to another in order to receive or give out payments. Being removed from SWIFT would be catastrophic to the Russian Federation, and yet many European states lobbied hard for Russia to be spared this most damning of sanctions. In the end, most, but not all, Russian banks were removed from the network, and while this did have a significant impact on Russian businesses' ability to conduct international business, the banks that remained connected allowed Russia to mitigate any of the...
Now the Europeans are acting as if because the spat in the White House happened, they cared. No, they have not cared. Because if you care, you will stop using Russian gas. It doesn't matter how complex it is. You've known this for a while that you need to cut off your dependency of Russian gas, right? And yes, Russia is closer, but you have a whole continent closer to you that can also provide you with natural gas. And you've never looked at that option. You're like, let's look at solar, let's look at renewable option. Why? You already have these pipelines. Why don't you just turn to Africa, put the infrastructure there, put Africans to work, get these natural resources, send it to you, and then you don't have Russia holding you captive. But you don't care about that. That's not what's important. And so when The sanctions that need to be placed on Russia, you do 80, 20, 60, 40, 70, 30 type sanctions, right? You're doing kind of like a salsa dance. You're going in front, coming back, going in front, sideways. You need to be intentional about your sanctions on Russia. And so I don't see why Trump is being vilified if the Europeans are not even intentional about their sanctions on Russia. The president of Ukraine, Zelensky, said, if you are hands off us, don't think that you're safe. Your borders, you're 2 oceans away. It's not going to protect you. Russia is going to come for you in front of the US president. And you think that Trump is not going to say, don't tell me that? Don't talk to me about what somebody comes and tells you that, oh, protect me because you see the fires down there. If you don't go fight the fires, it's going to consume your house. No, don't talk to me about my house. My house is good. I'll worry about my own house. Trump should have wore his big boy pants and stepped down and let Zelensky have his way. Let him just speak up. He campaigned with the Democrats. Is it me? Am I the one with the problem here? This president campaigned with the Democrats because he knew the Democrats were going to win. Assurances were given to him that we know this country, there's no way in hell somebody's going to vote for Donald Trump. Donald Trump won. And you want this government that he campaigned and voted and supported and went against to roll the red carpet, to be lovely and dovey. Listen, my dearest Democrats, you guys went into an election and you lost. Keep your emotions in check. The Republicans are going to run America as they see fit. When you get in power, if you want to do whatever you want to do, everybody's going to be in line with you. I'll be in line with you because you won an election. If you want to do whatever you want to do, run America to the ground, open the borders, do whatever you want to do, I will support you because you ran an election on that agenda and won. Trump ran an election on nationalist tendency and America first, which means he wants to only put America first. So your emotion, your party, your protest, those things don't mean anything to anybody right now. The people in power don't care. That's how politics work. It has consequences. Election has consequences. They say when Russia invaded Ukraine and stole Crimea under Obama's watch, what did the international community do? What did the international community do to ensure that that never happens again? Some banks have been sanctioned and other banks have not been sanctioned, right?
It's all about energy. The Russian economy is poorly diversified, with as much as 40% of the economy relying on the production of energy. This makes the Russian economy extremely vulnerable to disruption, and it's exactly why Ukraine pushed so hard for Russia's energy sector to be targeted directly with sanctions. With energy exports making up around 60% of the Russian budget, a ban on Russian oil would be a death knell to the Putin regime.
Not diversified. They are a one majority system economy. They are solely based on their natural resources. If you limit where that natural resources can go, if you limit demand, you've actually affected the economy without shooting a gun, blowing up anybody. But why are the Europeans not doing this? Why are the Americans not pushing for this? Why are the Chinese not doing this?
After sanctions against it, the ruble crashed and threatened to take the Russian economy with it. Yet almost immediately it bounced back to pre-invasion levels. This was foreseen by anyone who understood that energy is Russia's biggest lifeline. Sure, pulling McDonald's out of the country costs thousands of jobs, and Adidas's exit from Russia has put the country into a full-blown tracksuit emergency.
Pulling Russia from the Euro, pulling Russia from the World Cup, they're the kind of cosmetic things that people like to do and feel like, oh my God, it has some significant impact. No, it doesn't. Russia's not gone to 2 World Cups now, I think. Euros. They don't care. They got money. Money is coming in from the Europeans.
but energy is what keeps the most important parts of the Russian economy moving. With the bounce back of the ruble, Putin was able to mock Western sanctions and point out to his own citizens that the ongoing sanctions have little effect on Russia. This allowed him to continue garnering domestic support for his invasion. Lithuania was the first European country to pull the plug on Russian natural gas, with its foreign minister Gabrielius Landsbergis tweeting out, "Dear EU friends, pull the plug. Don't be an account."
Pull the plug, Europe. For me to take you seriously, you got to pull the plug. And it doesn't stop there. Once you pull the plug, you have to put other sanctions in place so that Russia can understand that they are a member of a larger economic ecosystem. We need Russia. But Russia needs to be able to play by the rules for everybody.
While the European Union is mulling over restrictions on coal imports from Russia, gas remains a hot-button topic for most European countries. Via pipelines alone, Russia provided 42% of Europe's gas imports, a staggering amount of vital energy to fuel modern cities. In 2020 alone, the EU spent $60.1 billion in Russian energy, making energy two-thirds of all of Europe's imports from Russia. Petroleum dominates the import figures for Europe. With 8 billion euros in natural gas imported, Europe also imports just over 48 billion in petroleum and petroleum products from the energy superstate. And thanks to Russian law allowing only the government-owned Gazprom to operate pipelines into Europe, most of this money is going straight into the checkbook of the Kremlin, which in turn it uses to continue supporting its war in Ukraine. But
this war has been going on since Obama. We've had Obama, we've had Trump, we've had Biden, and now we're back to Trump. And this war is going on. So nobody is serious about stopping this war, because if they were serious about stopping this war would have seen an end. I'm going to end right here because I have realized that we're being played. And people are just mad at Trump when we're all being played. What is the end objective for funding Ukraine continuously to fight Russia when nobody's doing anything to actively stop Russia's economic might? Somebody has to see benefit in this war to keep pushing for it. Because you cannot just tell me that just keep funding, just keep sending money, but you don't plan on bringing your own troops to fortify Ukraine, which means once foreign troops in, Russia will be like, yeah, this is the start of a bigger war, and Russian allies are going to partner with Russia, and that's how the Allied coalition is going to build. Europeans and America are going to be at one end, and the Russian, the Chinese, and North Korea, whoever else supports Russia, they're going to be on another side. What is the end objective? Peace cannot happen in kumbaya love. It cannot. This weakness needs to stop. Russia needs to be sanctioned severely to the point where the Russian economy can and will fall. And if you're not doing that, don't talk to me about peace, and don't talk to me about a man who's trying to stand what he ran and what he was elected for, to prioritize the needs of Americans and America. That's all he ran for. If you don't like the logistics and cosmetic of it, fix the problem. As the actual problem, that is. The pretty boy Prime Minister of Canada was rushing down to London for more funding, more weapons, more troops. At whose expense? They've told us. Europeans are buying gas, and that's all I needed to know. So I wanted to present it to you today. If you've liked the content so far, thank you. Continue to subscribe. As subscription is going up. We're thankful for all those watching and subscribing. Thank you. And again, we bring a different take. We don't claim to know it all, but we just want to have a conversation from a different angle, because I cannot understand how America is funding, Europeans are acting, oh, we got to defend Ukraine. And in the same breath, the Europeans are buying liquefied natural gas from Russia. So directly funding the war. And so it makes sense that they cannot put too much money in Ukraine because they've already put too much money in Russia. Indirectly, Russia is fighting, Ukraine is defending, and the Europeans are getting their flow of gas. It's been your host, Trez. Good night.